My family is from South Asia, but we live in the States. My parents loved my older brother and tolerated me. They expected me to stay home and care for them and my brother. That wasn't for me, so I got a partial scholarship to a state school and moved out. I worked the 4 years of my undergrad and was fortunate enough to get a full scholarship for my after degree. So I graduated from university with only a small debt and 2 degrees. I found a career that I enjoy and a husband who loves me. My parents paid for my brother's education, and he did very well for himself. But he's chosen to have 5 children, and they all go to private schools and have all kinds of extracurricular activities. And his wife is a stay-at-home mom, even though they have a nanny. I know 5 young children would be difficult to manage. I'm just saying that she has a degree as well, but they have chosen to be a one-income household. We are expecting our first child. We waited a few years before deciding to start our family. We will stop at 2, and my husband will get a vasectomy afterward. We're very much in agreement about our future. My parents, however, have decided that they're going to sell their home and come live with us. We have a large property with an in-law suite in a high cost of living city on the West Coast. I told my husband I didn't want them living with us, and he concurred. So I told them no. They said that they had already listed their home and that a dutiful daughter would take care of her parents in their old age. So I said if they gave me all the money from selling their home, I would find them a lovely retirement home where they could live, and that I'd pay the bills until they passed away. They didn't like that idea very much. They called me an ungrateful child and said that it was expected of me. I sent them a check for 1 year's rent, food, utilities, and sundries. I said I moved out 1 year after I turned 18 and that they were responsible for me up to that point. I told them not to contact me again without going through my lawyer. I've been playing whack-a-mole, blocking all of their attempts to reach me, and all the family members, both in the States and back home, are calling me an idiot. Finally, my brother contacted me and said I was making the family look bad by not taking them in. So I gave him the choice of taking them in himself or never bringing it up again to me, or I would be going no contact with him as well. So was I too harsh? And does that make me an idiot? I should probably add that they disapproved of me marrying a person not from their culture and religion, so they didn't contribute to our wedding, even though they did attend. Not the idiot. I'm very impressed with the hardline boundaries you set up so quickly, and I have a feeling you'll have no problem keeping them. As to the rest of the family, you've stated that they're welcome to open up their homes and/or wallets and house them if they feel so strongly about the family image. Seriously impressed. Oh no, the family members don't want the responsibility of taking in the parents. They just want to be able to tell OP what to do in classic entitled fashion. It's refreshing to read about someone who respects themselves and doesn't roll over to be walked on. The golden child needs to shut up and make room for mommy and daddy. Your parents don't get to treat you like your only existence is to serve them. Your parents had no problem not supporting you, but somehow expected the world from you without even asking. It's mind-boggling that they would just assume they would move in with you. Your parents should use the money from the sale of the home to build a suite on your brother's house, and then everyone should be happy. But don't be surprised if they just show up and try to force this. I don't think anyone should just tell you they're moving in and you're going to take care of them, parents or otherwise. The fact that they approached this the way they did foreshadows how they would disrespect any boundaries you have in your home. A dutiful daughter? Ha! Well, if they'd been more dutiful to their daughter, they might have had a different outcome. Daughters are less valuable because the son looks after the parents in old age. The daughter's expected to look after her husband's parents, traditionally. So I'm wondering why the brother wasn't the first choice. Or maybe he refused to take them in after he took the money from the house sale. Their golden child son can persuade them to a retirement home if inclined. I'm pregnant, and I've recently had an almost obsessive urge to reorganize everything in my home. My library is one of the places I felt I needed to change up ASAP, so I asked my husband multiple times if he would help me, as my shelves are pretty high and I have a lot of books that are heavy to move. He kept telling me he would help me later as he was busy. It felt like later was never coming, So I finally decided to just do it myself while my husband was working. My in-laws came to visit us, and they walked in on me, grabbing books from the higher shelves. They thought what I was doing was dangerous and I could have fallen. My husband also freaked out, telling me to get down and saying I shouldn't carry heavy things. My father-in-law asked me why I hadn't asked someone else to move my books for me, and I told him I did ask my husband, but he wouldn't help me. He did try to correct them, that he said he would help me later, but his parents told him off for not doing it for me. He thinks I made him look bad to his parents and is upset that I didn't correct them because I didn't wait for him to reorganize my library. We kept arguing because I told him he didn't help and that I didn't want his help anymore and that I would finish the library myself. Am I the idiot? Edit. I know I could do it myself. I only asked him because I knew that he and everyone else would be upset if I did it myself. He was busy, but not so busy that he couldn't have helped me for about an hour. I waited almost 2 weeks. You are the idiot. It sounds like you admit your husband was in fact busy and just felt like he should have reprioritized to help you with the library, but it actually wasn't urgent. It was only urgent to you. If you were tired of waiting and wanted to do it yourself, that's fine, but going around and telling his parents it's because he refused to help you was an idiot move. Despite what the general populace seems to think, pregnant women are not invalids, and if you paced yourself and were careful, you were likely completely fine doing the work yourself. Are you suggesting over the course of 2 weeks, he couldn't have found an hour or two here or there to help? Unlikely. Timeline matters. He said he'd do it. After 2 weeks, I stopped believing the help was coming. She was totally fine doing the work herself. It was everyone else who was freaking out. She just explained why she was doing it alone. He looked bad because he made himself look bad. OP's not the idiot. So what I'm hearing is that she asked him for help. He didn't do it in her preferred time frame, so she did it herself. Her in-laws asked why he wasn't helping, and she told them. And somehow she's the bad guy for not lying so that her husband's parents wouldn't be ashamed of their BS son who can't take a few minutes out of his day for multiple weeks to help his heavily pregnant wife move a couple of books. It's not like she wandered around complaining. She just did the crap she wanted to be done. And when his parents asked why he wasn't helping, she told them why. Agreed. I don't think OP went around telling anybody anything. She was being chastised like a child for climbing up a ladder and doing something she wanted to be done. OP, I would just tell my husband, I'm not some child to whom you can summarily dismiss a request by responding with some indefinite later and fail to follow up or revisit after numerous requests. Later is not an answer. Can we do it Sunday afternoon is an answer. My husband, 34 male, and I, 32 female, have a toddler son. About a year ago, our son was in daycare, and both my husband and I were working full-time. But we started having many issues with our daycare and felt they needed to do more to work with us on those issues. Eventually, we had a last straw and pulled him out of that center. For about 2 to 3 weeks, we took turns staying home with him while we tried to find a new daycare, but everywhere was either fully booked, too far away, or not what we were looking for. We're on a waiting list for our top 2 picks, but they don't expect openings until early next year. That led to a hard conversation about what we're going to do. We ended up deciding together that I would remain at work and my husband would stay home with our son. This was because of multiple factors. First, my job gives better benefits, including our insurance. It also pays more and offers more upward mobility. I work in a highly competitive corporate environment, and it can be very stressful. That stress is made even worse by being the sole provider for our household. As a result, I feel constant pressure to perform well at work. To decompress after work, I use my company's gym facilities at our offices. This usually takes me 30 to 60 minutes, depending on my workout. It's also a huge boost to my self-esteem because I'm still working towards getting my pre-birth body back. My husband has started to complain about staying at work later to work out. I've explained to him that I use that time to decompress so that when I get home, I'm in full mommy/wife mode, so I don't want to rush home and still be thinking about work. But he feels it's inconsiderate of me to take time for myself nearly every day when he doesn't get that same opportunity. This past weekend, it turned into a fight because he commented about it again, and I told him that I would not change my routine. I told him it's the easiest way for me to work out, and it doesn't add that much time to me being out of the house since I can work out at my office. I told him that I'm constantly stressed at work, and working out before I get home allows me to relieve that stress. So when I get home, I'm fully present. I also reminded him that hopefully we can get our son back into daycare in a few months, and that this is all short term. I give him plenty of time to himself on weekends, so it's not like he never has time for himself. I told him the stress of being the sole provider is a huge burden that I feel every day, and my workout routine is the biggest thing that helps me cope with that. He told me that I was being selfish, and that I may be a good provider, but I'm a crap mother and wife. I told him that was by far the meanest thing he'd ever said to me, and all he said was, "Sometimes the truth hurts." He refused to apologize and didn't understand why I needed that time for myself. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Full wife mommy mode, getting home at 7 p.m. to a toddler? For what, about an hour? Get a grip. You are being selfish. You could get home earlier, spend time with your family, and work out after the baby's asleep. You are the idiot for your refusal to compromise or communicate effectively here. It will not benefit you to qualify how competitive or stressful your job is in relation to your husband's job, staying home and caring for your child. Do not discount the immense effort required to spend all day with a toddler. This is an incredibly stressful time in marriages, and you both will be required to compromise. Work out a couple of days a week at your office, and then maybe get a running stroller and take the kids out for a run on the other days. Disagree. OP's not the idiot. As soon as you get home, letting him rest is more than fair, because raising a child is a full-time job too. That also means you must make time for yourself aside from work and family, and you find the most efficient way. Also, 30 to 60 minutes sounds reasonable too. It's not like going for a 3-hour walk or run every day. Your husband resents that he must stay home and play the homemaker. Simple as that. Every time you don't rush home to be of service to him and take over the child care is proof to him that he's the victim of this arrangement. Women who earn more than their partners statistically do more housework to appease the fragile egos of their husbands. Don't let yourself be bullied and get your hour of much-needed self-care. I, 27 female, have lupus. For those who don't know, it's a chronic autoimmune condition. It causes a variety of symptoms. One of my many symptoms is that I have very stubborn red rashes on my face, arms, and chest. From an outsider's perspective, they just look like really severe acne. I'm quite self-conscious about them, but I try not to let my skin stop me from wearing what I want or being in photos. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, my parents held a family dinner. My brother, 30, has a wife, Kat, 29. Unfortunately, over the years, Kat has become your stereotypical crunchy Pinterest mom. I don't dislike Kate as a person, but this situation has gotten me very angry at her. So at the dinner, the conversation topic turns to babies and children. Kat starts talking about how she's so glad she can make liquid gold, breast milk, and starts talking about how she puts leftover breast milk in her body lotion and it gets rid of her stretch marks, and goes on about how it's a magical cure for everything. In the middle of her talking, Kat starts making really uncomfortable eye contact with me, and I can see she keeps looking at my rashes. Finally, Kat points out the rashes on my face and says to everyone that she'll offer me some breast milk to get rid of my acne. I told Kat it was not acne and asked her to stop talking about it. For context, I didn't start having symptoms until my early 20s, and my family's still skeptical about my diagnosis and think there's nothing wrong with me, so no one else defended me. Kat wouldn't drop it and told me I had nothing to be ashamed of and to just take her breast milk and to trust the process. So I politely declined and said that I was pretty sure her breast milk won't make it better, and I was sure she could find a better use for it. Kat still wouldn't let it go and went on and on about this miracle cure and how powerful it is and how it'll restore my skin, and started blabbering about some woman on Instagram curing her eczema with breast milk. I lost my temper. I told her to screw off and that her bodily fluids wouldn't cure my autoimmune disease, and told her to keep her milk to herself. Kat started yelling at me and called me an ungrateful witch, then started crying, and my brother took her to another room and comforted her. My parents were really mad and told me to leave and said that I needed to learn how to be nice and act like an adult. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your family is idiotic and definitely idiots. No one presents symptoms such as yours without accompanying emotional issues. How's it possible that anyone could subject you to the abuse you get is horrifying to me. Lupus is a serious medical condition for which there's no cure. I would cut this whole family out of my life if possible, but if not, take mom and dad to a doctor's appointment so they can be taught about it and told it's real by someone professional, since they seem not to believe OP. Heck, take breast milk mommy too. They'll tell her what she's offering is not going to help and may even cause further harm. But she was just trying to help. She made doctor friends on the internet, and it's a fact that breast milk is a cure-all. AIDS, Alzheimer's, marriage, happy family gatherings. Don't be so close-minded. Notify your parents that Kat is the one that needs to behave like an adult, and listen when you tell her no the first time. She was entirely out of line to keep pushing you. My female 31, sister 23, moved in with me and my husband 29 a week ago. She doesn't contribute money, but does a lot of house chores to compensate for it. She'd cook, clean, organize, vacuum, etc. I was at work yesterday and found that she'd done my husband's laundry. I was stunned as I felt this was not her place, nor was it appropriate because I always do his laundry. And more importantly, I didn't think it was appropriate for her to look at his underwear. She downplayed the whole thing, saying it was no big deal and that I was struggling with work and the kids, and she wanted to help me by doing the laundry. I told her she shouldn't have done it, but my husband didn't react, and she used that to support her argument, saying no one thinks it's a big deal except me. We argued and she shut me down and then started crying, saying she meant well and was trying to help out, but I couldn't help but think that this was not her place. My husband told me to drop it, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling I got. He told me I should apologize to her for berating her, but I refused. Ooh la la, calm down there, Marie Antoinette. Your feelings don't excuse your behavior in this case. She was trying to help. You could have asked her not to do it again. No need to berate her, especially as she's been helping out with many other chores. She was just continuing the theme and crossed an invisible line by accident in the effort. You owe her an apology for projecting your weird taboos and insecurities on her. OP, you are the idiot. OMG, right? Ugh, I'd be more than happy to let anyone do our laundry. I hate doing laundry. Well, okay, I hate folding clothes more than I hate doing laundry. If my sister lived with us and she offered to do our laundry, I'd worship her, not scold her for it. LOL. Take a deep breath. Repeat as necessary. It's just clothes. You should be thankful that your guest is trying to compensate for your generosity by doing chores, rather than being lazy and doing nothing. You are the idiot, and you really should apologize. You're making nothing into a huge big deal.